So today I'm going to tell you about a brand new thing. It's called Readwise Chat. It's a new AI that allows you to use all of your Readwise highlights. And in my case, I have a lot. I can show you just right here. You can see that I have highlights from 233 books, 84 articles, 41 tweets, 15 podcasts, on and on and on. And Readwise basically aggregates those from all the different sources like Kindles and iBooks and blog posts and everything else. And now they have created a chat service, a chat bot that can use my highlight database in order for me to ask questions of my highlights. Now, this is really interesting because at the moment, or at least prior to this, while I could do this, I could download my database, I could load it up, and I could do this myself. And in fact, I have done that experiment. This just makes it easy. This brings it to anyone who is using Readwise to capture and collect all of their highlights that they might generate over time. So I'm really grateful for it. I love tools that just make it easier. So the key things that I've noticed as I've gone along are that this new feature, and this is the big thing, right? It really makes all the highlights and notes that you have actionable, insightful, and accessible. And it does it in a really elegant way. Let's take a quick look. Let's jump right in. This is what the Readwise chat interface looks like. And you can see that it is very, very simple. Just a super simple example would be to say something like this. Tell me about all of my highlights that are about the concept of reading. Why not stay in the groove there? So now what you're going to see is that the chatbot is going to go and peruse all of my highlights, and it's going to come back and it's going to start to show in the context of the things that I've read, the books that I've highlighted, all of the things that matter. We've got here are some highlights related to the concept of reading from your collection. I think reading is huge. Several years ago now, I read How to Read a Book, and I'll show you the cover. This is the book, How to Read a Book, by Mortimer Adler and Charles Van Doren. It's a life-changing book if you let it. And one of the things in this book, and this is like superpower use case that I can already show you with this first example, is something called syntopical reading. All this really means is reading multiple sources with common terms in mind to figure out what all the different authors mean in the context of those terms, then looking at the similarities and differences and documenting that. And if you do that, then you get a deep, deep understanding, and this is where new insights are made. But this video is not about how to read a book. This video is about Readwise Chat. You'll see that it has gone through, has looked at everything I've ever summarized and said, and it's saying, well, here's the key things about reading that topically that you've said. Well, active and engaged reading is important. How do you read to retain and understand? Integrated reading and thinking and maximizing the reading experience. But then down here, what you will notice is that these are all of the different books where I've highlighted something. And so let's actually look at one. So let's look at Regenesis. So if we click on Regenesis, it's going to show us the actual highlight that I had. I highlighted optogenetics, the process of reading and writing to brain cells with light. Now, in my mind, that's not particularly relevant in this case, so I'm probably going to discard that. But let's look at a couple of others. Writing without bullshit. Once your readers are done reading, what will they do next? Split second. This is interesting, and this is one of the points I had to make back to the team that gave me early access to this tool. Thank you, Tristan. But it mixes what it finds from fiction and nonfiction. I like this. I love seeing the highlights I made of a fiction book, because fiction is from the mind of an author who are grounded in the life they live and the facts that they've experienced. Let's look at How to Speak and How to Listen, another book by Adler. And you can see that in here, there's a quote that says, when they are in love and reading a love letter, they read for all they're worth. So this is interesting because it's a comment about how when you're engaged in the subject matter, you certainly read attentively, like if you got a love letter. Pretty cool. When you bring all these together, what's super interesting is that, again, it's kind of summarizing the body of all of your highlights, and then it's giving you all the sources. But what happens if we actually use this to create something? Well, I did this. I'll show you what I did. So here's where I did reading of all of my highlights around traditional agricultural practice and water conservation by using a note from my Zettelkasten. You can find other videos in a Zettelkasten playlist on this channel if you like. But I took this note where I said, traditional agricultural practices like crop rotation, livestock husbandry, soil management are key. So I just literally, all I did was feed my note to Readwise chat. What it did was, it says, well, here are the insights into traditional practice and water conservation from your highlights. And then it gives you all of the different citations, which is super cool. Again, here's one from Water for Every Farm. And if I click on that, it's going to open over here. It's going to show me the exact quote. I can go all the way back to my actual highlight, my original highlight. Look what we've got. We've got all of these insights from my highlights about the topic from my notes. This is in my words. I made this. That's an important point. So I've taken my own words, I've cross-referenced it across every highlight and every book I ever made, and it hit several. Abundance, Call of the Reed Warbler. What do you do with that? Well, I took all of this and then I used it to write an article. And I think you could probably find that article, which I then titled Growing Greener, Integrating Innovation into Agriculture, Water, and Energy Systems, is unique, because there's probably not been another study across this particular set of sources, right? You can imagine if you're doing research in science and maybe a thesis, this can be incredibly useful. But if I click on this, you'll see, what are my sources? Abundance, Call of the Reed Warbler, Water for Every Farm, The Great Regeneration, Drought, publication from Computer Science. What is this one? Let's see, Computer Science. I want to see. Oh, okay. So this was a paper, I believe, that I read, or an article I read somewhere, saying computer science can help farmers. And of course, it is quite possible to go from here all the way back to the original source. I mean, this is amazing, and it happens so quick. I think maybe I want to show you one more example. So I'm going to actually open up my digital Zettelkasten, and I'm just going, I did not pre-plan this, so I don't know. I'll do one in the topic of AI, because this video is effectively about a new AI, and I'm going to start a new chat. The note that I have, transformative AI is not far away in the future. It's here right now. AI is most analogous to fire as a technology. It's rewriting the rules of society faster than most people comprehend. Waiting is a poor strategy. Engaging now in this singular moment is paramount. Okay, I wrote that. Well, let's see. Let me tell you, I wrote this note on December 25th, 2024. If I feed my own note, my own thinking into Readwise IO chat, as I will do now, what it's going to do is, just like I said before, is going to cross-reference against all of my highlights. Now, I've read a lot of stuff over time about AI and several books. Here is a reference to a book called Prediction Machines. Here is an article I read. Does Sam Altman know what he's creating? From The Atlantic. Here is another article. ChatGPT is about to revolutionize the economy. AI and Creativity, from the book AI 2041 by Kai-Fu Lee. AI 2041, Kai-Fu Lee. With the right training and the right tools, we can expect an AI-led renaissance that will enable and celebrate creativity, compassion, and humanity. Awesome. And his prior book, AI Superpowers, definitely led into a lot of what you'll find in that short story. So AI and Creativity, more from Prediction Machines, so these are all the other books that this thing pulled from. Here's from The Age of Scientific Wellness. AI will be essential to help interpret these data and deliver insights. So this is in AI and the use of, in the context of medicine and longevity in particular. Landing AI, this was another article, a fiction called Demon. That's awesome. Prediction Machines, some tweets. Prediction Machines, these are tweets that I will have saved in Readwise. It goes on and on and on. And now, if I want to narrow this down, I could, but I'm just going to say that what I've got here now is sufficient for me to go and make some kind of insight, probably. So, and I'm going to build off of this. So I would probably just take all of this. I would start to draft a new post or a new article or a new essay on this matter. and I would use this as my supporting evidence for that essay. Along the way, I'll probably end up generating a bunch of new permanent notes like this one for my Zettelkasten. I'm rambling on a little bit. Let me just hit on a couple of other thoughts, just really succinctly. I do love the fact that this tool taps into the fiction and nonfiction that I've read. It really juices the imagination, fiction. But it is good to pay attention what you're citing or sourcing from to make sure that you're grounding that, of course, in truth and not something that was just made up. I think that one of the primary benefits of this tool for me is this helps me to revisit forgotten yet deeply significant highlights and insights. And I have the habit of attaching notes to my highlights. So this then ties me all the way back to those notes as well, which is pretty amazing. So I love that the tool retains your chat history. As I just showed you earlier, you can go back to previous chats and continue to explore them. And say you get some really interesting comments on an article you write from an aggregation, from a syntopical reading of a whole bunch of stuff through this tool. Well, then you're going to be able to come back to this and continue to extend your research, thinking, conversation, etc., and dialogue. Let's see. The other thing, I love the integrated, it's very elegantly integrated citations. This is super useful. I'll be honest. I don't know how I would have found all of that stuff again in the context of a single topic. A much simpler one than just using the notes is just to put in a single word. What if I put in the word, play? Right, play. That's a fun one. I just type in the word play, and now it's going to go across all of my research and reading and notes. And now listen, a quick aside here. This all of my highlights also sync into my Tana note system. So when I do something like this and I publish and I bring that back and I highlight tag, that then all gets connected into my deeper note-taking system. So there's an incredible number of connections that are happening here outside my brain. And so you'll hear things about second brains and stuff like this. Well, tools like this are like getting a new sense. You can see, you can hear, you can smell. This is like getting yet another sense that helps you tap in to that collected knowledge that you have, all that thinking that you've done, and surface it and make it valuable again. So some of the stories and use cases, again, that I went over were cross-integration with my own note-taking system, juicing up my Zettelkasten and leveraging it in new ways, having a deep tool for syntopical reading and research. I guess you would call this literature review. In a way, it's pre-done literature review. So all the work I put into the highlights and the Zettelkasten before is a pre-literature review for whatever I might encounter in the future. I think that I've already used this, as I showed you, to publish an article. It was really, really powerful. And I love being able to ask it questions, tap into single topics, and then look at what I've ever thought about that single topic as tied to my highlights, as tied to my notes, as interfaced with my note-taking systems. I think that there are places where this can improve. It just released, so that's no dig. But, if they were to enable in a deeper integration of what annotations we make in tools like Kindle and iBooks, that could be pretty cool. I didn't notice that by default it searched the notes. Maybe they wanted more permission for that. I think that there are some minor interface issues. At least there were a couple of days ago. I'm sure they fixed that things quickly. The Readwise tool and Read has always been just phenomenal at integrating new tools and services. Ultimately, this feature from Readwise opens up incredible opportunities for really deep cross-platform research. Because you can aggregate so many things from so many places into Readwise. I would feel like I lost a limb if I don't have access to this. And again, they're not paying me to say that. I've been using this tool for years. I've been collecting Kindle highlights since day one, so I have a lot. And I asked them if I could make this video and share this with you today. Sorry, it's a little bit of a ramble. This is truly off the cuff. In conclusion, this tool has huge potential to transform workflows, improve knowledge discovery, and really even improve the creative process, because you're going to be able to tap into threads of thought that you forgot. It certainly is what happened to me immediately when I started using it. So if you're a Readwise subscriber, definitely think you want to check this out at readwise.io/chat. If you are not a Readwise subscriber, I don't know, I don't get anything for this, but just go check it out, especially if you are an obsessive highlighter like me in Kindles and iBooks and articles and other places. Highlights can just be dead, wasted work. This changes all of that. Give it a go.